What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show Weekend Review. On today's show, we're going to concentrate on the automotive industry. We're not going to veer off in sports or other topics like we standardly would, because there's a lot going on in the automotive industry. We're going to start off talking about Jaguar's new branding, which is very interesting. And of course, then we'll dive into our old namesakes of horrible layoffs. Whereas we find GM is laying off 1,000 workers, and they are doing it when they seem to be up. And we also see that Nissan is talking about laying off 9,000 of its employees. So it's going to be a horrible holidays for a lot of people, because that's all we talk about here is layoffs in the automotive industry. So let's jump in. First, we're just going to talk about Jaguar. Jaguar decided that it's going to start off a new rebrand because it is planning, just like most automotive automakers, they're planning to move to EVs really soon. So figured they'd change up their style, change up their brand. And I think you guys, just like I did, will see something interesting in their new brand. Let's check it out.
Jaguar, the iconic British brand, has unveiled its new logo and branding strategy as it gears up to go all electric. But let's just say the internet had a lot to say about it. On November 19th, Jaguar dropped their redesigned logo and branding, signaling a major shift in their identity. The company is planning to launch 3 new electric vehicles in 2016 as part of its mission to become an all-electric luxury brand. To mark its transformation, Jaguar introduced a fresh logo stylized as Jaguar with G and U in capitals, blending upper and lowercase letters to create what they call as visual harmony. Alongside this, their iconic leaper cat design has been revamped, embossed on brass and paired with slogans like Delete Ordinary, Live Vivid, and Copy Nothing. But here's the catch. Jaguar has intentionally pulled older models off sale to create a fire break between the past and their bold new future. Jaguar MD Rodden Glover explained that the company needs to change people's perception of what Jaguar stands for. Having a fire break between the old and the new is actually very helpful, he said.
Honestly, I don't think so, because Jaguars, the majority of Jaguars that you see on the road is classic Jaguars. My grandfather had a classic Jaguar. Even back then, when I had my Jaguar and I took a Jaguar to prom, or my cousin took it. It's a long story. Anyway, even back then, Jaguars were cars, they weren't driven in the year they came out. And now the majority of Jaguars are classic Jaguars that you see on the street. You don't see a lot of brand new Jaguars. Even when I worked at the Jaguar dealership, I did, you saw a lot more of the newer models, the little ones coming out and them getting purchased. But just the idea that you're going to try to get rid of the older model Jaguars is probably a really bad idea, because those are the ones that are picked up, purchased, and really driven around. They are definitely going to try their best to move into the EV industry just like everybody else, but to remove their namesakes and the cars that got them where they are is probably not the greatest idea. Because, just like other automakers, they haven't really ventured out into EV market, so they don't know how their EV Jaguars will sell. Let's keep going.
The brand even teased a new concept car debuting at Miami Art Week on December 3rd, a glimpse into Jaguar's future on the road. The rebranding rollout included a sleek promotional video, but let's be honest, it didn't actually roar on social media.
We're getting into a lot of this bright colored, rainbow type situation, and I don't see that it's really doing what it's intended. I think that it was mostly to market to um, a new group. I think it was strictly designed to market to a new group of people out there, and the marketers really think that that is a big portion of the group that they have to market to, and I don't think it is. I think that getting away from marketing to the world as a whole and trying to market to one specific group is what's hurting a lot of industries. The whole what was it? The whole beer thing. I think it was a Bush Light situation where they had the young trans guy marketing and they lost all that business. I think the idea of concentrating on marketing on just a particular group and not, marketing to the world as a whole is really starting to hurt a lot of industries. I just really think that's happening.
Yeah, one of the harshest takes came from none other than Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO jumped on X, formerly known as Twitter, with a cheeky question, while Jaguar's official account clapped back, inviting Musk to their Miami showcase. And Musk wasn't the only one with something to say. Reactions ranged from confusion over the new design to outright criticism of the branding strategy. But it seems Jaguar did perhaps anticipate the controversy such a comprehensive rebirth might prompt. During a briefing, the brand said that when it comes to its visual identity, it is not afraid to polarize. In a further acknowledgement that the logos might not please everyone, Jaguar's managing director insists that the brand is always at its best when challenging convention. In fact, they even responded to a post on X asking if it's an ad for a fashion brand and not for a car, saying it's a declaration of intent. So, what do you think about Jaguar's bold new rebranding? Let us know in the comments below.
I think it was stupid. I don't think that it's going to go over very well with your core Jaguar base. I think you are pretty much, getting away from the core, which were, more fast car, older white men who reach the age where they want to have a fancy car, to trying to market to the younger crowd, the LGBT crowd, the transgender crowd, and I'm glad that you don't care about controversy and you think this is going to work for you, but I just don't. The majority of what we've seen on the internet about this has been bad. It's been negative takes about the Jaguar new brand. It's been negative takes about the commercial, no vehicles in it, all these weird colors and weird shapes. It's when you get to a point where your marketing strategy is not based on trying to sell cars, but trying to tell a certain group that you're down with them. That's what it seems like. I mean, it's not even no cars in the commercial, which is, why Elon Musk said, "Do y'all sell cars?" I mean, what the commercial didn't tell us nothing, but Jaguar likes bright colors and weird shapes, and so what is that telling us? How is that helping us to understand that Jaguar is the car of the future, and we need to pick up an EV Jaguar, or we should buy Jaguars? I just don't understand. And it's just, one of those things where, the marketing of a particular thing has veered left. I mean, you put these people in place with the plans and ideas to get you more sales. That's what we're talking about. More sales, more market share, more people getting into Jaguars, and this is, if you think that this is the way to go to get that to happen, I just think you're wrong. I think that if you are having problems selling, the first thing that you do is you take care of your core. You make sure that you're marketing extremely strong to your core base of clientele, base of people who love your product and love your brand, and then you branch out. You make sure that the core is taken care of first, because the core is going to spend with you first. If you try to start marketing to other groups that standardly don't mess with you, then you hope you might grab one or two, but in that process, that's when you might lose your core. And your core is what keeps you afloat. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think this is going to go over very well for Jaguar. I don't foresee them holding any standard market share in the future. I know, just like all the other automakers, they have to make a lot of changes so they can get back to where they were, to a point where they didn't even have to, market. Jaguar was one of those companies that back in the day, it didn't have to market its vehicles. Its vehicles sold themselves. So, and now that's changed. It's changed a lot for a lot of automakers, and it's going to continue to change like that. So let us continue to go. And while I really wish that I could stop giving out all this negative information about losing jobs and slashing of positions and all these things, but it continues to happen. And what's messed up is that every week we go over different automakers that are slashing jobs. And I always talk about how the UAW contract has pretty much, that UAW contract destroyed the big three, but those are not the only automakers that are out here suffering. So, because we talked last week all about Volkswagen and all the problems it's having over in Germany and all these types of things, and closing plants in Brussels and all these type of things. Well, we got a new group to the arena of layoffs, and that would be Nissan. Didn't see that coming, did you? Let's check it out.
Reed, is this going to be enough to turn things around for Nissan?
Probably not. I mean, we've seen signs for a while now that the automaker has been in trouble. They have an aging product lineup, really nothing new on the horizon in terms of new models. And of course, the sales environment is very tough. They also took on the strategy of sort of boosting incentives in the U.S., and that's really cut into their sort of cost base. And so really, all of this has been building, and now we've seen sort of the consequences of that. And so they're going to try and turn things around. They appointed a new chief performance officer, a cost-cutting plan. And really the big question is this going to be enough? Are they going to be able to really kind of right the ship going forward?
So he's about 8 months into the 3-year turnaround. Is there sort of confidence at this point? Well, the circumstances under which sort of Nissan has its current management, you have to remember, were about a year and a half after, the entire Carlos Ghosn saga. And really, the cost and consequences of that are still being felt by the company. Now, they did have a midterm plan, which ended. Now they're in a new one. But really, at its core, it's probably partly also an issue of attracting the right kind of sort of talent and expertise, and also sort of the ability to sort of roll out new products very quickly. That's really going to determine its future. They do have sort of a nascent alliance with Honda in the works, so that's something to look out for. And obviously, when they do come out with new models, how well those are going to resonate with car buyers.
I mean, we continue to talk about this. Nissan, just like all automakers pretty much right now that are not the new EV, people with several models out there are suffering. Nissan being one of them, the big three being the main ones. But, I personally think that all automakers, whether it be the big three, whether it be Nissan, whether it be Volkswagen, I think they're all taking this opportunity to make these cuts. I think they're all showing that, the automakers are suffering. They're not making the sales that they standardly were. They're not, moving the inventory that they standardly were. They've lost so much market share. So I personally think that with all of the layoffs that are happening all the way around, that these other automakers, not the ones that still showing a profit, are taking this opportunity to lay people off just because they can, and they see everybody else doing it, so they know that they won't see a lot of blowback from these layoffs, because all automakers are making layoffs right now. All of them. Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, all these automakers are having layoffs in their factories, layoffs in their dealerships, layoffs in the executive level. So, and I think that a lot of them, even the ones that are doing really, really well, are taking this opportunity to lay people off just to make sure that in the future, because they have to plan for the future as well, that they have money that is not being sent out to employees that they can use for further things, to stockpile, to create new EV products, try to get into the EV market. So it's a horrible thing. 9,000 jobs. Where are these jobs coming from? Who knows? What people are going to be affected. So it's just bad. It's just par for the course. Because every week we talk about layoffs, more layoffs with Stellantis and the big three than anything else, but less, as we can see, it's happening at Volkswagen, it's happening at Nissan, it's happening everywhere. So, and this is not the last story, but and we talked a lot about, because we love the big three, we're Midwest born. We were diehard UAW people. Now we can't stand the UAW because we understand that now the UAW that it has become is destructive and destroying factories and plants and people's lives. But we find that, one company that we was, striving for and believing strong in, GM was doing great. Mayor Barrett had come in, young lady president doing fantastic things. Everything was on the up and up. Everybody seemed happy about GM, and now they're having layoffs. I just don't understand, because I understand it's exactly what I just said. They are taking this opportunity that they know that the Chryslers and the Dodges and the Fords are taking this opportunity to lay people off, to save money, to cut back, getting rid of the DEI hires and getting rid of all those things. Everybody's taking advantage of this, and GM is one of those companies doing the same thing. So let's check it out.
Christmas time, and Christmas time is the worst time to be laid off.
The entire community is going to be affected by this layoff.
The first round of temporary layoffs at the General Motors Fairfax plant in Kansas City, Kansas have begun. I'm Rachel Henderson, and I visited a local labor union in KCK to talk about what union support looks like during a time like this.
My wife gave this to me for my birthday.
This gift is basically all of Mike Kane's life experiences on paper.
It's got the unified government. Here's our apartment, 1402 North 38th Street.
Some stand out more than others.
General Motors Fairfax. I enjoyed my 35 years down there.
Now, he's the 5th District Commissioner for the Unified Government, but he also works with Labor Union 1290.
There's a brotherhood with the unions, and when somebody's hurting, we will surely help.
It's the mindset he has as temporary layoffs begin at the GM Fairfax plant.
Layoffs are never good.
They're happening because of a $391 million retooling so the plant can manufacture the Chevrolet Bolt EV.
Thank God they're going to build it here, because that provides longevity for that plant.
But it comes at a price.
Not only is General Motors going to have people laid off, but all those suppliers are going to have people laid off.
Like in Riverside. At GM, nearly 1,700 employees will be impacted. The UAW Local 31 president talked to me about this weeks ago.
It is extremely hard to kind of have that, and especially with this timing and the length that we're looking at.
Phase 1 has already begun and is in full effect December 2nd. Phase 2 will be in effect mid-January. Some layoffs won't be completely over until early 2026.
It's Christmas time, and Christmas time is the worst time to be laid off.
In his mind, that's where the union allegiance comes in.
Each union helps each other in the best way they can.
As GM embraces the EV movement, Mike's hoping workers can experience the gift of longevity.
But once they get up and running, I think they'll be there for a while.
Rachel Henderson, KSHB 41 News.
I don't think so. And that was a UAW strong storyline, and it's just not true. I can't believe it. The UAW is the problem. The UAW caused all of this. Let's just the UAW allowed for all this to happen with the whole fight with Sean Fain and the contract to get all those great things. It opened the door for all of these layoffs, the GM layoffs, the Chrysler layoffs, the Dodge layoffs, the Ford layoffs. It opened the door for all these layoffs because these companies couldn't maintain these extra added incentives that were put into these contracts. The extra money, the extra time off, all these things just allowed for some people to come up while the majority of people to lose their jobs. And it's getting worse and worse. And we talk about it every week about all these layoffs at all these factories and all these people. And I, you hate to say it, but kind of the bogus truth of it is it's kind of their fault, and it's not directly their fault. It's always, the leader or the head of their group that it makes the ultimate decisions. But, it was to the idea that you think, because like I always said, these factory jobs are good jobs. They're always been good jobs. Even when I was a kid, everybody wanted a factory job. You got paid well. Some of these factory workers making six figures, and then the desire to be greedy has caused all this. The desire to want more on top of something that was already great. It's caused all of these problems. All these people who have worked their whole lives at these factories are losing these jobs, and they're not, unless they get a trade, unless they go back to school, they're not going to get a job that pays the money that these factory jobs paid them just all willy-nilly. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to just go out there and find a job that pays the money that these factory jobs pay. And just the desire to be paid more, which I understand. I understand the desire to want to make more money. I understand the desire to have more time off. I understand these things. But all these things, just like everything else, come at a cost. Everything comes at a cost. And they didn't understand when they was letting Sean Fain lead them down this road to fight these companies to get all this extra money, that it would lead to so many of their brothers and sisters in the UAW to lose their jobs. And it's just sad. It's just sad. Like the man said, this is just a horrible time to lose your job. All these job losses happening right before December and Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve. It's just a horrible situation for anybody. Just depression waiting to happen. So, all right, we're going to do one last quick story. And this is going to be a reader, and it's all, of course, related. It's all related. But the truth is that the Detroit 3 have been destroyed. And, the UAW is the culprit. The desire for more has caused everybody to suffer tremendously. So, real quick, we're going to read a story over at the Automotive News. Real quick. Detroit 3 cost cuts will dampen the holidays for thousands of workers. Okay, this from November 20th, the story I read earlier, but I'm going to read this to you guys. The Detroit 3 have generated several headlines over the past few weeks about thousands of painful job cuts for blue and white collar workers. It's an unfortunate pattern in bad or mediocre years when companies need to cut expenses to spiff up their year-end financials. Today was Ford's turn to announce the bad news. 5,000 job cuts in Europe and 400 job reassignments in Michigan following a cut in Bronco production. This following ongoing job cuts at Stellantis and General Motors. Ford signaled more cost cuts in its third quarter earnings report last month, but that doesn't make it easier on workers losing their jobs or being forced to transfer to different plants. Furthermore, cuts in vehicle production go into the supply chain where more people lose work. Still, this reminds us of the cyclical nature of the auto industry. Those of us who grew up in the Detroit area know how the booms and busts work. And it was just over 15 years ago when we witnessed what happens to automakers that fail to heed bloated cost structures. GM Chrysler filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Ford avoided bankruptcy by leveraging almost everything, including the blue oval. As much as Ford wants to cut costs, it also also won't miss opportunities to build new revenue streams. Could in-vehicle advertising be on the horizon? This story today looks at the pending patent that the company published in August revealing an in-vehicle advertisement presentation system. Ford has said it will go forward with this infotainment technology and will certainly risk polarizing some end users, but new technologies are emerging that make streaming ads less intrusive. In other news today, Elon Musk boss Tesla chair Robin Denham benefited nicely from the recent post-election run-up on Tesla stock. She exercised an option worth $35 million on November 15th. Now, why don't I read you guys that story? And because it's just this whole thing that is destroying so many people and so many jobs lost. It's just the utmost problem that I've seen in our world today. I mean, and we talked about it a lot leading up to the election, and the statements of we have very little unemployment and very little job loss. And I sit here week after week after week, and I tell these stories about layoffs here and layoffs there and layoffs here. And I need to make sure that I make this statement true and bold that this is a bad time in the automotive industry, specifically the automotive industry here in the United States of America. And I'm talking about the employees of the automotive industry in the United States of America. I'm not talking about the factories or the companies themselves, because they're run or owned by millionaires and billionaires. I'm talking about the little man, the guys that work on the floor, the guys that work on the line, the guys that sell the cars, the guys that repair the cars. Those are the people that I'm talking about. And those are the people all the time that are affected, specifically at these times. During Christmas, when they have to buy presents for the children, or Thanksgiving, and when they want to put a Thanksgiving feast on the table for their family, and they can't because they just lost their job working at the plant. This is what I'm talking about. And that's why I make my show. My show is about pointing out to the world that there's these problems here, and hey, is there a way we can fix this? Is there a way we can stop these people from losing their jobs? Do we need to make sure that these people understand that this job is probably not going to be your only job, so you need to start going to school or something? That's a storyline that we have to get out earlier, specifically for our Midwest brethren, the people over in Detroit, the people over in Indiana, people over in Kansas City that are working at these factories, been working there for 15, 20 years, ain't done nothing else in their entire lives since high school. Because we have to make the world understand that this is continuing to happen. People don't see it, and that's the biggest problem. Nobody pays attention to me, of course. Nobody pays attention to the news. People just living in their own lives, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to say it is. But if you're not informed that your job might be a job that might come up missing here pretty soon, then you're going to suffer. Your family's going to suffer. Look around. Families are suffering everywhere. You, even in your own city, you got to be able to look to your left and look to the right and see somebody who's suffering, somebody who's just lost their job, somebody whose pay got cut, because that's what we're talking about. All right, my friends, I'm going to get up on out of here. As always, it's always a pleasure. Check me out Sunday, Wednesday, maybe every other Friday for the Stellantis Report. We're going to talk about the automotive industry. We're going to talk about the world. We're going to talk about good people. We're going to talk about bad people. And we're going to talk about how we can make sure that we continue striving forward, because that's the only way to go. I'm your boy, Chris Surratt. I'm out of here. You guys like, share, subscribe. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions. And I'm out. Peace.